The following podcast contains spoilers and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Animated Anarchy, where we take a critical look at animated features of all kinds to determine the good and the bad. Hello, and once again, we are back. I am Andrew Dickman.
And I'm Mike Ruocco.
And we're here to talk about I don't want to say classic. I want to say like a
rehash of
a classic. And I was on the debate of actually doing this for a while. Well, I wasn't on the debate about this.
You looked at me in the eyes and just said, let's review. Let's talk about Jungle Book 2.
Well, okay. Let's a little background here, because we were discussing this even before we did the podcast.
Yeah.
And we were thinking like, oh, what kind of movies should we talk about? Well, let's talk about some bad movies, and let's also talk about some good movies. And then we ultimately decided to go with B-movie. And then I decided, hey, we were talking about Jungle Book 2, and should we... Maybe that should be our second episode. And then you went to New York.
I said no, and I ran away to the East Coast.
You bailed.
For 2 weeks. You were like, what should our next movie be? And you went Jungle Book 2, and I went, and I ran, and I just never stopped.
You just ran off. Yeah. And to never be seen again until today, which I forced you to watch this. Well, I've never seen
Heavily sedated.
I have never seen this movie. You have.
I've seen it twice.
And you've actually, you've subjected
So this is my third time actually
this.
seeing this movie.
Oh, God.
You want to hear a story?
How can you even watch this a second time?
You want to hear a story?
Okay.
So, about a year
ahead.
ago, I lived with my two roommates, and one of my roommates, his favorite childhood movie was Jungle Book, the original one.
Yeah.
And me and our other roommate were like, you have to see the sequel. You have to. And he's like, no, I don't want to tarnish the legacy of the original film in my mind.
And I'm just thinking to myself, like, why would you want to do that to someone?
Oh, we wanted to so badly. So we did. We actually finally, I think we did a thing where we'd watch movies and we just pulled movies that we haven't seen out of like a random number generator.
Out of a hat.
Yeah. And then one day it was like, we're going to do it. We're going to watch this movie.
Right.
And he was like, oh no. And we sat down and and we sat down and watched the movie. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we were all groaning, but the thing that made it better was that we looked towards him, and every time there was a really bad reference to the original film, or a bad pun, or just really weird animation or something, I just look at his face and he just goes, oh! And just like, and like he like feigned being stabbed. Like, ever seen a movie where someone like fakes a gunshot in a Western movie? You just see that like from the distance, and they fall off the top of the thing.
For me, it reminds me of this clip of a movie where like there's a woman cop who basically shoots this assailant, and it goes on for about 5 minutes.
Oh, like he screams.
Yeah, like ah, ah! It just keeps going and going. That's how I imagine him watching this movie.
Well, the best was
for
at the
like
end.
An hour and like 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I remember he turned to us and was like, "Why did you do this to me? Why?" But
yeah,
but the thing is
that's what I was thinking to myself, honestly, when I was watching this, because like, listen, okay, I need to say something right now, is that I do not honestly hate all sequels.
No, neither do I.
No,
if they're justified.
Well, yeah, if they're justified. But even some of the direct-to-video sequels from Disney, I've actually enjoyed. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind Bambi 2.
Neither do I.
No, I found that one pretty
good. It doesn't offend me.
I do like Lion King 1.5.
Yeah. I like it more than the actual sequel.
Right, the second one.
But,
oh God, and I'm trying to think of some others off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, they're genuinely well animated, and they look nice. And
yeah.
And I honestly, like... Cinderella 3. That's another one that I actually like. I actually like the third.
It's weird.
Cinderella.
I remember seeing it, but I don't remember anything about it.
Right. But I mean, like,
Extremely Goofy movie was also pretty good.
Oh yeah, Extremely Goofy movie, like a hands down. But yeah, I don't hate these sequels. Like, every sequel that they make is like, I give them their fair chance.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of hard to look at them without like rose-colored glasses of like, oh, okay, I love the original movie, and now they made the sequel to tarnish it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's like a lot of sequels, they do that. I mean, they basically make sequels because of the popularity of the first one. Like Ghostbusters, Back to the Future.
But those were done right after each other.
Yeah,
But Disney.
But I mean, like, sequels are usually given like a bad name because they're not as good as the original. And honestly, it's like that could be said for a lot of things. Even really good sequels can be said. Like, I know a lot of people don't like Ghostbusters 2 compared to the first one, but I still appreciate it for what it is because it continues on this.
It's the same characters, which you love.
Yeah, it's the same characters, it's the same theme. It continues on the story, and it also really it adds to it. It doesn't take away from it. You know, it's like we're not destroying what the original was about. We're just continuing on and adding to it, and that's what I really like about some sequels. However, once in a while, there's one. Disney was like the Walt Disney Company was going through this phase. Like a very long phase.
It was like at least a 10-year phase.
Yeah, where they would just continuously make these sequels based on old properties. And there were a lot of misses.
Oh, yeah.
So, when these movies were coming out, it was like I just couldn't stand it. I was like, oh God, could they just please leave these alone? And then I watched a few, and some were good, some were bad, some were just like, why did they even need to do this?
Right.
There was no reason to do that. I mean, The Rescuers Down Under, honestly.
That's an official sequel.
That wasn't well, yeah. I mean,
that was like a Disney animated feature film.
Yes.
That wasn't like, oh, we have another studio farming this out doing it.
Well, yeah, and we should be careful about what we say about official because I don't know if anyone would really consider these official continuations of the original movie, but they are still a part of the Disney continuation of these memorable characters and stories. And like I said, like the Rescuers Down Under, that was really good. And that was from a movie that was made like 20, 30 years ago before it came out.
The mid 70s.
Yeah, so around like 25 years, right?
Yeah.
So, and it can be done well. You know,
actually, no. Rescuers was like 15 years because that was 90 or 91.
Wait, really?
So yeah, so all the 80s, 10 years, and then a couple of years in the 70s. So yeah, it was only been like 15, less than 20 years.
It was still a while.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it takes... There will be reboots and sequels for years to come. It's nothing new.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. We're just having...
I mean, like, Bambi 2 broke the record of how far between the original is from the sequel. I mean, the original was done in 42, and like 60-something years.
And do you remember the petition for Snow White 2?
Oh. I remember it. I mean,
yeah.
The thing is, with certain movies, it's weird. I mean, like, in the case of this film, and we'll discuss it more.
Right.
The film ends on a note where it's like, why would you want to continue the story? It's set in stone. That's it. You don't need to continue. Rescuers I can understand because they could go off and do more adventures.
Yeah.
Mowgli goes back to the man village, and they go off, and they're happy, and everyone's happy and content. And then you're going back into territory that you don't need to go back into it. And also, the fact is, it was at that point, let's see, almost 40 years since the original film.
Yeah.
Like, why specifically that movie? Like, why did they have to go back and specifically do Jungle Book, a movie that ends on a note where you don't. It ends on a note. It ends on a happy note. There's no questions left unanswered. You're like, okay, moving on. That was a great little film.
Yeah.
Now we're just going in and retreading old ideas again into another movie, which they did a lot with with these Disney sequels.
Yeah. There is a difference between adding to something and just rehashing what has already been made. Yeah. It's kind of like, I'm just going to give an example here. When Emperor's New Groove came out, that was like one of the most quotable movies from Disney
in a long time.
For the longest time. And then they made a TV series.
And they made 2 direct-to-video movies.
Yes. And
wait, did they make at least one?
I think one.
Just
one. I think it was one.
Oh, Kronk's New Groove.
Yeah, it was just Kronk's
New
Groove.
Which I never saw.
Yeah, I saw part of that, but I haven't seen the rest. We're going to have to probably talk about that at some point. But I mean, like, also, when the TV show and that movie came out, it's like, well, while I was watching them, I just remember it just being about re-quoting the movie. It was just redoing jokes that have already been told instead of like, let's take the idea of this movie and just add to it. No, we're just...
We have to call back to things. And remember the original film? Remember that funny moment in the original film, or that quotable line, or that little action, or that little something in the original film?
It's like every character is just looking to the screen or looking to the camera and just winking. It's like, remember?
Yeah.
And that's what this movie is a lot like.
Yeah.
Okay.
And another thing too, and this is sort of not nitpicking, but it's the... You look at something like, say, Bambi 1 compared to Bambi 2, or in this case, Jungle Book 1 compared to Jungle Book 2. And it's weird calling it Jungle Book 1 and Bambi 1 because there are multiple.
Yeah.
But you could... Bambi was made in the 40s. Jungle Book was made in the mid-60s. Mm-hmm. Yes, in the last 50, 60 years since those movies have come out, animation we've gotten a little more, we've learned more, the animation has reached a higher plateau.
There's more material for it.
So it's weird seeing characters like Bambi or Baloo or Mowgli make very specific expressions. We can animate and draw them better now than we did back in the 60s. Yeah. It was a simpler time.
Especially expressions that we see in most stuff today. Yeah. It's kind of like there's a difference in what audiences find appealing.
Society has changed a lot.
Yeah.
In the time.
So it's kind of what we've seen in the first movie. Okay, let's talk about the first movie.
Yeah.
The first movie, it's one of those movies where I enjoy for the characters and the visuals and the animation, but it's not one of the best Disney movies, in my opinion. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I still highly regard it as one of a good Disney animated movie.
Yeah,
but it's not really the best in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Jungle Book is probably in my top 10 in terms of Disney movies. I mean, there's like 50 of them, so it's kind of like 10. That's not too. That's pretty high.
Good.
That's pretty high praise.
That's a high number.
But that's because there's reasons why I personally enjoy the movie more than maybe some of the other maybe more classic movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
and there's classic movies that I really find in my top 10 as well. So it's not like I don't. I'm not going to say I don't appreciate it at all. I think it is a great movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of problems that I have with it, just in terms of like story, and the character of Mowgli isn't very appealing to me. But I will say the animation, I love how sketchy it looks.
Yeah,
it was in that period where
the Xerox look.
Yeah, the Xerox look, where they were not like cleaning up the animation.
They were doing very rough tie downs.
Yeah, and I love that look. It's like in 101 Dalmatians. It's in Sword and Stone, and
Rescuers to an extent, but Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. So there was like a long stream of animated movies that they would make in that kind of style, and it really, I think it really helps the appeal of it. And there are a lot of memorable characters to it. We have Baloo, we have Bagheera, we have King Louie, Kaa, of course, and Shere Khan, who's also very memorable. My favorite characters in that movie are the Vultures, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself, honestly, because they do all of these characters, except for a certain one. Yeah. We'll get into one. Reappear in the second movie, but in the first movie, I do find this movie is like the story just kind of like has a direction where it goes, and I don't really feel like in the end that there's a very good
resolution.
Resolve.
Yeah.
I feel like it just kind of like ends.
Yeah. Well, I could see that. I mean, the problem is, it ends with this. They spend the whole movie. Mowgli is like an object where everyone's like, we just got to get this thing back into this man village. He doesn't belong, because I can't.
Mowgli is an object.
Here's what I have to say, and this is before I saw this movie, and I've seen this movie, 3 times now. This is my third.
Oh, the second one.
Three times too many.
Oh yeah.
But I've seen this movie. This is my third time seeing it, and I saw this movie for the first time. I think it probably aired on the Disney Channel. probably in the mid
because I remember
2000s.
this showed up in theaters.
This was a theatrical.
This was a theatrical film, which was really in the time where everyone was kind of like really gritting their teeth every time there was a new sequel that was going to show up on video, and then all of a sudden it's going to be theatrical.
Yeah.
This made people lose their minds, at least the people that I was with at the time. And we were just like, okay, everyone, we're going to avoid this movie. I didn't want to see it because even though I would see every movie in the theater at the time, I felt like I could skip this one.
Yeah. I'll see it on video.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that, and you saying this before about Mowgli, and I've said this before to many people, if I had to make a list of my favorite and least favorite Disney characters, Mowgli, hands down, was probably my least favorite. I just thought he was annoying. I didn't like him as a character.
Yeah,
I don't like him. I mean, I'd rather.
There are certainly there's character trait problems with him that I could honestly pinpoint, and it's not that he's a terrible character. It's just that there's really no. I don't know. There's no really good build for him. And I don't know if it's the characters around him to blame, because all the other characters are much more appealing and diverse and interesting.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he's just a boy. Like,
yeah, he's more right.
Little makes trouble for everybody else. Rambunctious little boy,
and he really is just this. You said, this object, this item that they want to get out of the jungle.
This guy's really like messing with our lives. He's making things
ruining
harder
everything.
Let's just get him out of here. He doesn't belong. But anyway, hands down, he was my least favorite Disney character. Then I saw this movie, and then I realized that there is a character that I really don't like more. Than Baloo. I like Baloo, but I like less than Mowgli, and it's this. I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves again.
Yeah.
But it's just this little child named Ranjan.
Ranjan. Yeah. Ranjan.
I hate him.
I kept on thinking they were saying Raja, but that's like the name of the tiger from Aladdin.
Yeah.
So,
but going back to the original film, it is normally, I would say it's unfair to compare one movie to another because it's like apples and oranges.
It's unfair. But it's an unfair comparison.
But with this movie, it's kind of like you have to be you can almost let that slide a bit because it's a direct sequel to the original film, and it's almost bluntly in your face about remember the original film. Well, here we go again.
Right.
And there's moments where you're like, oh, they're clearly taking like, remember this action, this little piece of animation from this movie?
Yeah, they reuse animation. It's like, but it's
not even reusing. It's not even like reusing. It's taking it and lifting it.
Yeah,
and having other characters.
It was almost like it kind of like traced almost in a way.
There's times where it looks like they took a Xerox of one of the original key drawings or one of the original frames from the movie.
Yeah, and they just
used it,
off
and
of
then for
that.
like maybe like a split second. It like looks like, oh wow, that looks like the original film.
They made it cleaner,
and
they cleaned it up, and really it's very crisp and polished.
Right, and that's the thing also that I feel that what takes away from this film compared to the original, like the film itself, we're gonna get into it. The story, no, it's not great, but the art direction's great. Like I think the backgrounds are beautiful, the color styling is pretty great.
Yeah.
But the original film had the distinction of having that almost, I don't want to even say crunchy, but it has that pencil-y, sketchy edge line, that Xerox line.
It has a lot of texture to it.
Which makes the characters not only, in a weird way, somehow blend in more to the movie. They don't stand out. So, and you have these wonderful pastel painted-looking backgrounds. And then with this new movie, I guess they couldn't replicate that style so much, I guess, in a pipeline where in that specific pipeline. So, at the time, I guess. So, the characters look super clean, as if it was like they ink the characters like they were going to ink, say, Peter Pan or Pinocchio, where they have these clean lines, and it's weird seeing
and the shadows as well, which are like this blended in shadows.
They do a lot of the
digital
shadows and highlights, and
and
it's weird because the original movie had none of that. It was just they painted, if the characters were at night, they painted them flat. the night colors, or they it just
There wasn't. Was there shading? Guys, I'm trying to remember from the top of my head. Was there any kind of shading
in the original film?
In the original, no. It was basically just flat colors.
Flat colors. I mean, if there was something that was coming towards characters that had a shadow, or if they left
just to fit the
shadow,
scene,
to fit the scene, or to make him put him on a ground.
Yeah, like
plane.
when Shere Khan was like going through the leaves, and you would see the shadow. Yeah, stuff
like that. And
yeah.
but in this film, it's
everywhere.
And also, we would see it and we're like, oh my god, it looks like a really bad Photoshop effect. But in the original film, if there was water, they would use distortion glass, which was just an effect to take the original artwork and just warp it.
You told me about this. Yeah,
distortion glass.
The distortion glass effect that they used in water, which I found really fascinating.
It's really interesting because what they would do is they would have the artwork, and to make it look warped, they would use a piece of tin that was very reflective, and they would reflect it in a with the camera. They would shoot it at the tin, so you would, and the artwork would be reflected in it, and then by adjusting it, it would make a wavy action by tightening and loosening it, so you would get this nice wavy kind of reflection.
Yeah.
And that's what they did, and they did it in Jungle Book. I mean, they even used, even in Jungle Book with waterfalls and stuff, they used live action waterfall. They just put it on high contrast film.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But in this film, they use computer effects, and they're very, I don't want to say primitive, because I don't want to, that's not the word I want to say.
No.
It's very, it's evident, it's like almost clearly obvious that is a computer effect.
Yeah. How did I put it? Like I said it like it kind of looks like a Photoshop filter.
Like a Windows 97 screensaver in the background.
Yeah.
And it just seems weird. And
the water is very, very clearly,
like
the surface of it. It's very clearly digital, and there was even like a CG log in there that was, for a moment. I mean, for that moment that it was CG and it broke and it went into the water, it was like, okay, that's obviously CG.
Yeah,
I mean, at that point, I'm not gonna fault anything.
Right.
For that.
Well, at that point, we're just nitpicking the technicals of it.
Yeah, but it was really obvious when it was like, it was almost to the point where it was distracting me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because usually when you have water effects like that, it's kind of subtle and it's not as big.
Yeah.
But this was just like it was so condensed that there was like so much ripple in it.
When you see what is it in Photoshop when you either go very
high
soft,
or very low.
You go very soft and blurry, or you get very what's the word when it goes back and it gets very grainy looking?
Yeah.
It's very sharp looking compared to even the background, which are these beautiful, nice pastel looks. I mean, like the background design in this in the sequel is pretty. I mean, it reflects on the original film in terms of the style.
Yeah.
And it
does have look, the backgrounds have a nice texture to it. They're very nice.
And this is me personally nitpicking about this is just me being like, but I like it. But yeah, I think I like it. I think the charm of the original film is that it has that that Xerox look, and now that this film looks very pristine. I mean, the cleanup job is great. It's just that it's weird seeing these characters super detailed.
It's a weird transition, from the first one to the second one, and I don't really expect them to replicate that look.
Right.
I can't really say like, oh, they should have just used pencils and animated it like that. No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it's and also the crew of the original film was maybe like less than 50 people. There's hundreds of people working on this movie.
Yeah.
Times have changed.
Yeah, certainly. So, but yeah, let's get into the whole
plot of the movie,
the whole nitty gritty of it.
Here we go.
And we start off with this like a storytelling sort of thing where it's like they have like the puppets against the
do like a shadow puppet.
Yeah, shadow puppetry. And Mowgli is basically telling the story about how he grew up with wolves and was being taken to a village by a panther, and he made friends with a bear, and nobody believes him. They just think it's a nice wild...
Mowgli, your stories.
Yeah. Oh, and there are new characters in this.
Yes.
We find out that, the girl at the end of the first one...
His name's Shanti.
His name's Shanti, the very womanly voiced...
Mae Whitman.
No, the girl in the first one, how it was just like a singing voice.
Yeah, like, I was hunting And then you're like, oh, that's beautiful. And then you have like Mowgli.
Yeah. So, and Shanti, and then there's a little kid named Rajan.
He's the first voice you hear in the movie, and it starts like, it's that, and you just hear that, and you're like, oh my god, what is that? And you find out that it's this annoying,
a very very pronounced child voice. Like it's not
like
I wouldn't say like I want to connect it to Rockadoodle. The cat
kid in Rockadoodle.
But he didn't have like that lisp to his voice.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, Shanti
Quell for me.
But quell for me. And it was funny because I kept having that joke where every time he would say Shanti, I kept thinking it's like he was gonna Claire
Shanti Claire
Quell. Yeah.
But yeah, and you know, like what's endearing, like you look at a character like Thumper, who is, and those bunnies and Bambi who are voiced all by little kids, and
the thing is that I think the reason why the kid in this movie is so grating is because he's very loud and
screaming every line.
He screams every line, and he has way too many lines. That's the thing.
I think he has more lines than Shanti does.
Every time the kid's on screen, he's saying something. And it's always something like very obvious. Like he's like, "Rah, I'm a tiger." Rah, and
we're obviously making fun of him because we're going, "Yeah, I'm a tiger."
Yeah, I know. But he doesn't really sound like that. He sounds like, just think of like a little kid. And
anyone who has a little brother that you'll understand.
Yeah, and I almost want to ask like a parent. Of a small child. No. I want to ask is like, because I know kids are very like they'll talk and they'll say things and they'll be a little bit too loud because they want to be heard, and I kind of wonder if kids are watching this movie, do they find that annoying? Do they find it annoying watching another child talk like them? It's like this weird thing that I feel about kids. They don't want to see a show or a movie that stars a kid. They want to see someone who's a bit older than who they are, because that's what they aspire to be.
That's why there's so many TV shows about kids in high school, in college.
Right.
The people who watch them are people who are about to go into high school. I'm like, I want to be like them.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm wondering if like there's a little kid and they're watching this movie and they're seeing Ranjan, and the people who made this movie are probably thinking, oh, they'll connect with him and whatever. But you look at me, but there are people that think like this, who will think like, because it's a small kid and this is catered to smaller kids, they will connect to this kid somehow.
I guess, I don't know. I think if I was I was a kid, but
we were all children.
We were all children at one point.
Not
but
me.
I mean, at the time of this film, but like, I don't know. I mean, if I was a little kid and I was watching if I was watching a movie about a little kid, I think it would be like, oh, it's another little kid, and it's not really interesting because I'm a little kid, and
you rather see the other characters.
I think the only time I've ever felt like, ooh, I wish I was that kid, is maybe like when I was younger and watched the original Harry Potter movie, the first one.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, they're the same age as me, but they're at a magical school. I wish I was in a magical school.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of disconnect where it's like, it's either these are kids like me, but they're in a fantastic setting.
Yeah.
Or
makes it relate.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's more relatable than just having like a kid say whatever and do whatever.
That kid is clearly deprived. He lives in a third world.
And honestly, I wouldn't have a problem with this kid if he would just shut up once in a while. It's like, it's like, let the other characters speak, please, or at least don't be so pronounced.
I mean, luckily, there's whole sequences of the movie where he's just not.
He's not good. But I mean, like, I know we keep going on about this character, but he really is one of the most grating parts of the film
movie as a whole.
So, but Mowgli, voiced by Haley Joel Osment, another child actor
who whispers a lot.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Even when he sings a song.
Well, the first song, it's like I mentioned this to you. It's like, he's singing in whispers.
Yeah, everyone else, even the music is louder than his.
Yeah, And yes, there is music in this. There's like what 3 songs in this, and one is like a callback.
2 or 3 new songs,
and
not nearly as memorable as the original songs.
No. I can't even remember what the first song was about. It was something
Jungle
about
Rhythm.
being the jungle or
Jungle
Rhythm. Yeah, and it was really just about like how Mowgli he was a wild child, and
he's like, the jungle's fun and enjoy me.
But okay, and anyway, he goes on about his story, and none of these kids seem to believe him that he was like friends with a bear or anything. It was just like, oh, he came into our village and we were blessed with
having funny
him.
stories to tell.
And his like I guess his adoptive father, voiced by John Rhys Davies, who he's
very good.
Yeah, he's
good
always,
at everything.
He's good at everything he does, and I have to think that he was kind of typecasted because he was Indy's friend from Indiana Jones.
Indy.
Asps, very dangerous. You go first. And yeah, but I love I love John Rhys Davies. He's really good. He's in a lot of stuff, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because like there's so many things out there that you wouldn't think he would be in, but he's in there.
Yeah. SpongeBob.
Yeah. And the mom of Ranjan's mom, who is probably the only Indian voice actress in this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guess here because honestly, she's only credited as voice. It's Veena Bidasha.
Yeah.
But, her character actually is like, I thought was very pretty. You thought it was...
I thought she was pretty.
I don't know. I just like fell immediately. I was like, but she's married.
I think she's pretty.
Quiet, bud.
Yeah. And Shanti also has a mom. And here was a funny thing. I didn't pay attention at first. I thought that Shanti and Ranjan were like brother and sister.
But they're not.
They're not. And
so Mowgli's living with Ranjan's parents.
Yeah, is living with Ranjan's parents, who like only the boy and the father and the mother. And they don't really have names.
It was confusing at the beginning.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Wait, what?
Yeah, well, when Shanti's mom came in, I was like, wait a minute, where's she going? Didn't she flirt with the dad? Who's that? It's like, who's that?
Who's stealing this child away from her parents?
So, but yeah, and they kind of undid this love relationship. This romantic aspect from the last movie. They kind of mention it. It's like, oh, she lured him into our village with her eyes and
but the thing, that's just it. Now that you look at the original film and then her in this film, she's like a scaredy cat.
Yeah,
and she's really antsy.
Oh yeah.
So like you see her in the original film and she sees Mowgli.
She immediately falls for him.
And she's like, oh. Hey there, big
man.
boy. Oh, man. Hey there, big boy. And in this movie, she's very, like, scared. She's scared of being at the river.
She's scared of the jungle and she's scared of animals or something like that.
She feels, I mean, like...
Well, this entire...
She barely had a character in the first film.
Yeah, but there wasn't much to work off of. I mean, I wouldn't know what kind of personality she had based on that movie alone, other than, like, oh, she kind of wants some, you know?
Yeah. Oh, there are many boys in this village, but not one quite like the man in the red diaper. First of all, and also Mowgli in this film, there are a lot of children in this movie. In the village, there's a lot of children. Mowgli
especially in the song, all of a sudden there's children everywhere.
Mowgli is severely underdressed.
Well, compared to Ranjan, who's a kid, and you can see like, okay, the kid has a diaper on. What's Mowgli's excuse?
Well, he was raised in the jungle. No one says, "Oh, hold yourself."
We don't really have extra clothes for you. I'm sorry. So
not even that. It's just like, oh, you don't hold. Yeah. We animals don't hold our bladders. We just go wherever we want.
I'm almost thinking of like a scene where Mowgli is just like walking around and all of a sudden,
Shanti, the jungle's great, and then you just hear like piddling sounds. And you never cut below the waist. You just see your eyes dart like very...
It's like, oh God, doing it again. That was another question.
This man really is uncivilized.
That was another question. How much time in between the first one film and this one was there? Because,
They don't really say.
No, there really isn't.
They say, "Oh, we were blessed by having you come to us."
Yeah, it's almost like it happened yesterday.
It could have been. It could have been last week. It could have been 6 months ago. It could have been a year ago. We don't know.
Yeah, well, there must have been some time in between.
I mean,
because
obviously, because there's moments in the movie where you're like, "Oh, this character's gone now," and how long ago? They don't really say.
Right. So there is this semblance of time in between what happened. It's just like Mowgli. I would say he's maybe an age older or something.
An age?
Yeah.
You mean a year?
Yeah.
There's an age. I'm 3 ages.
He's from the jungle. I'm sure he would say that.
Several ages have passed. Twice times the rains have come and gone.
Yeah.
The full moon has risen 47 times and set 48.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Well, no. Anyway, yeah. There's some
time has passed.
Time
marches on.
Yeah. So they go through this whole song, and Mowgli during this entire thing, he's like luring these children out into the jungle. And I guess like the father steps in.
Shanti screams.
Oh, Shanti screams like, "Wait!" Or what is she? Stop! And then the father comes in and is like,
"What are you doing,
Mowgli? What are you doing, God?"
You deliberately disobeyed. That's another thing. In a lot of Disney movies, the words "you deliberately disobeyed me" happens a lot. It happens, I think, in Lion King. It happens in the Little Mermaid. It happens.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
You deliberately disobeyed me.
Yeah.
Insert character here.
Yeah, that's like that is a big thing. Like, no supper.
You are going to bed.
So so apparently the story is that no one is supposed to go past this river that into the jungle because it's
dangerous. There's animals in
the jungle. Yes. I just love how bluntly you were about that. It's like, obviously, there's animals in there.
Who knows?
That is pretty logical.
Some sing.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous out there.
A
bunch of monkeys come in.
Holding like bananas, like shivs.
Yeah.
So Mowgli's not supposed to go past the river, so he's reprimanded for this. And then the father shows him, like, "You're not supposed to go out because of the danger." And he shows him this scar of like probably from Shere Khan or something. Like he got slashed.
And what was your comment?
Like, I should never shake hands with a tiger.
Lesson learned, Mowgli.
Yeah.
Rule number 1. Don't shake hands with a tiger.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot about this whole thing where it's like Mowgli and Ranjan like scare Shanti with like pretending there's a
stinky boys.
That was a great line.
Whoa, whoa! You didn't have to go there, Shanti. That's pretty heavy.
Mowgli's kind of an ass to Shanti in this, in the beginning of this anyway. It's like she's.
Guys pick on girls, you know.
No, I can understand that, but it's like it's such a weird transition to think like there was a romantic aspect to them, and now it's like Mowgli's just being a complete dick to her.
He's like, "Ooh, a girl," and gets lured into the man village, and once he gets in there, he's like, "Oh shit, I bet on the wrong horse."
Yeah. So okay.
All right. So moving on.
So. Meanwhile,
Mowgli misses being in the jungle.
Yeah, Mowgli misses being in the jungle. Meanwhile, in the jungle, Baloo
has withdrawal from Mowgli.
Has Mowgli withdrawals, and he's with Bagheera, and Bagheera is starting to like suspect. Baloo. Well, not so much
he's just
pity.
Like, "Oh, Baloo."
Yeah. Oh, Baloo. Oh, yes, that's right. Oh, you're delirious because he's like. He gets like a coconut and puts a banana peel on it.
So it looks kind of like Mowgli.
Yeah, so it's like he pretends it's Mowgli and starts talking to it, and it's starting to get like this weird like.
I don't know.
But at any rate, Baloo starts to he wants to go to the village and get Mowgli, and Bagheera finds out about this, and let's talk about the voices for a minute. Baloo is voiced by John Goodman.
Little bedbug.
That's a callback.
And it's around the same time. I mean, well, he was in the 2000s.
Yeah.
In the early to mid 2000s, he was in everything.
That's what I was talking about.
He was in Monsters Inc. A few years later, he'd be in the classic that we've forever been known as B movie.
Yeah, so this movie was 2003, and Monsters Inc. was like
2002.
2002. Yeah, so they've been. John Goodman. bless his heart.
I love John Goodman.
He's a great actor. I love him in everything. And he's very good at what he does. He's not a good Baloo.
It's John Goodman playing the character.
You can clearly tell it's John Goodman. He's
like probably the worst, I don't want to say worst, but not the best casting in terms of like, voice match, or not even, is Mowgli and Baloo.
And I do want to feel like maybe they had John Goodman for the name value.
Probably. Because there's really, besides him and maybe John Rhys Davies, who else is in this movie? And Haley Joel Osment.
Right. There really aren't like a whole lot of very recognizable celebrity names in this anyway.
Right. And it's mostly voice actors.
Yeah, like Jim Cummings and all that.
Yeah.
Phil Harris, who was the original voice of Baloo, and
he's really the first Disney character, like the first time they ever cast it in a movie, where it's like, we have a bunch of like. You really think of. I mean, there's Sebastian Cabot, who was pretty famous, and he was Bagheera in the original film.
Yeah,
and he was in a bunch of other movies at the time. But Phil Harris was like the weird, like Walt Disney himself made that choice. Like, let's get Phil, because he met him at a party. He's like, let's get Phil Harris to be Baloo, and it's like, really, Phil Harris? Because it really.
And then they used him for Aristocrats too.
Aristocrats.
Yes, the Aristocrats.
Aristocrats. But they used them a lot. But the thing about him was that he was recognizable because he was a famous lounge singer at the time.
Yeah. And he does have a very distinct voice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very...
And it fits the character actually pretty well.
I would think that it's very difficult to replicate that voice.
Yeah.
And I don't think they really told John Goodman, okay, you're doing a Phil Harris.
Well, I mean, they probably were like, you know what? Do we really need to find a Phil Harris sound-alike? Let's just get John Goodman. His voice is deep
We know
enough.
him.
We know him. But yeah,
didn't he just do a movie?
But yeah, like maybe most Disney characters before Jungle Book were voiced by radio actors, people that people wouldn't know, except maybe Cliff Edwards for Jiminy Cricket back in the 40s. But at that point, his career was already, his peak is past.
Yeah.
So people really think of Robin Williams being the beginning of, I'll hire a celebrity voice to play a character like this. Yeah. But it's really, they usually get character actors, but Phil Harris was really the first one.
Which I think that was great for a lot of Disney movies, is that they would hire voice actors that had like a theatrical background.
Yeah, or either radio or vaudeville or
musical talent.
Musical talent.
Yeah.
Just like today when they use the cast in most of these new movies are mostly Broadway stars, except for maybe a handful of, like in Prince and the Frog, most of them were Broadway people.
And I think that's good.
I like that too.
Yeah, it's introducing, like, the thing is that the voice needs to fit the uniqueness of the character. It needs a unique voice that's recognizable as well as the character who is recognizable, and I think that really helps it. John Goodman, it's like, he's a wonderful guy. It was really hard to hear him doing Baloo and not. It's like I couldn't see Phil Harris in that voice at all. So, and he was doing the best he could for his role. Yeah, I'm sure. So,
I mean, if you're used to hearing Baloo sound a certain way, and then he sounds not completely different, but different.
Yeah.
I mean,
there were moments where it was like, it did sound like he was trying to do the Phil Harris sort of thing. And then there were moments where I was like, okay, that's obviously John Goodman. Yeah. So, I that's all we can really say about that. And Bagheera, who was voiced by Bob Joles, did a good job.
He sounds pretty close to Sebastian Cabot.
There were moments, like a lot of the characters, it's like there are moments where it's like you can tell it's not like the real voice, but I think it was more noticeable. He
was a closer voice match.
Yeah, and I liked it. I liked Bagheera, even though he wasn't in the movie a whole lot.
Yeah.
But the moments that he was in there, it was great. It was nice to hear that Bagheera voice.
Yeah. So Baloo tries to find ways to get Mowgli out, or to get into the man village to see Mowgli. And Bagheera's like, they apparently, since he's done this multiple times, because he tries to sneak in.
Oh yeah, he says Plan B or something. Yeah, or he yells out, and then the elephants come in and they start like trampling over Baloo.
Yeah, they try to they corner him on this bridge, this log that crosses the bridge.
Yeah, and then he jumps off into the river and he tries to
Chaos
escape.
ensues.
And the little elephant helps him out. who is,
He just doesn't. He doesn't really help. He just doesn't tattle on him.
no, he doesn't. He's just like,
He's like,
well, he leads him over. It's like, the village is this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all we see of that.
Right, and then and the elephants really don't. They appear briefly later in the movie, but that's
yeah,
they're
but
over.
that's pretty much that's the appearance of the elephants. It's just like, okay, remember these characters?
Yeah,
yeah.
And so then Baloo goes goes towards the man village.
Yes, and it's nighttime now.
Later that evening.
Did the scene with Shere Khan happen?
Yeah, because he crushes the coconut.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, he comes in. It's like almost like a foot away.
Yeah, like Baloo and Bagheera barely leave the scene, and Shere Khan just enters and crushes the fake Mowgli head.
Yeah.
And Tony Jay plays
Tony Jay, who is also the voice of Shere Khan in Tailspin.
Yeah,
which I honestly find awesome because I love Tailspin,
and he does a pretty. He
does a good job.
George Sanders was the original Shere Khan, and it's you're doing a very, very confident, full of yourself voice, almost non-interested voice.
Yeah.
And he does he sounds very close to George Sanders.
He does good, yeah.
He does a pretty good job.
I mean, it's really hard to top the original Shere Khan.
It's weird. Shere Khan in this movie is a little different than the original. Yeah. Because at this point, I guess he's already been scorned by Mowgli, so now he just has a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, now he's like out for revenge. And here's something
he's more menacing in this movie than he is in the previous one.
Yeah, he is. Like in the original movie, it's like you get that sense of danger with him, but there are moments where it's like, why is this guy such a big deal? Why is he such a...
Well, they play him up throughout the movie as, Shere Khan, no one could fight Shere Khan. A pack of wolves can't beat Shere Khan.
Yeah.
And then you're like, who is the Shere Khan? Who is this character that everyone's afraid of? Then when you first see him, you're like, oh my God, that's Shere Khan. And he's very confident. He's like, oh, what a pity. And
yeah.
And then you're like, when is he going to do something? He's very almost menacing. Like he fools around with Kaa in the first movie, and you're like, what is he going to do to him? And then at the end of the first movie, he turns full tiger and goes fucking apeshit.
And I think that's
which
really
is a good setup for that villain.
No, it is.
It's a great setup.
Yeah, because it's really payoff for all that build up with his character because he really is menacing at the end, and then he gets it in the end. Speaking of, I was saying they probably should have put some sort of continuity,
like have his tail singe,
or at least
tail singe. Dun, 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 dun. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I had to.
Well, speaking of Tailspin, Ed Gilbert, who was the voice of Baloo in Tailspin, I almost wanted to hear him coming out of the voice of the character, but I don't know.
You thought he sounded more like... He channeled Baloo better. He might not have sounded exactly like Phil Harris, but he channeled Baloo better.
Yeah, it's like I feel like there was like a little bit more of Phil Harris in his voice than there was in John Goodman, but there is still that sense of like, okay, that's not Phil Harris, but it's still like very,
it's Baloo.
Yeah, it's Baloo. And I'm not just trying to say that with, it's nostalgia for that matter. It's like I'm kind of wondering, is like, yeah, they probably got John Goodman for the name recognition when they could have gone with Ed Gilbert, who is I honestly don't know what else he's been in.
I don't know if he's still alive.
I think he is. Yeah. You just shook your head like no. You just make that assumption that. But I mean, I'm sure he was still alive when Jungle Book 2 was being made.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably got him because they were like, they casted him a specific way. It's like, you know what, we need a big name actor here. Well, we can get John Goodman.
Yeah.
And John Royce Davies.
All right. Well, enough of that. We're moving on to the darkness of the village, which is now nighttime.
The darkness of the village, also known as night. Dark overcompasses the village. In some territories, the darkness is also called night. Nightfall has fallen.
Baloo breaks into the village, and he's walking about like very quietly and trying to get to Mowgli, who's outside his window just looking out.
He hears something, and then Mowgli stumbles on Baloo.
Yeah, and right behind him is Shere Khan, because he's just fine with going into the village. Like, that made me think, like, Shere Khan just hates man because, he finds him.
Mowgli specifically. Like, he could just go into any one of those houses and be like, screw this guy.
Yeah, he even passes, like, a lot of sleeping people, and he could have been like, I could eat this person right now, but no, I gotta find that man cub.
That smaller human.
Yeah, the smaller one. The one that singed me. So, yeah, he's right behind there, and, they have, like, they finally reunited. It's like, hey, Papa Bear, blah blah blah, and then there's like the animation where it's like, that show me your moves, kid.
It's
like
right out of the first film.
right out of there.
And that happens a lot in this movie where you look at it, even if it's unrelated, they'll either call back to the first movie with some kind of... There are scenes that parallel almost exactly the scenes from the first. Like, there is a Shere Khan interrogation scene.
Yeah.
There is a Vulture making joke scene. Yeah. There is a... talking about being a tough bear scene. Like, there are parallels literally from the first and second film, almost verbatim, because it's like, remember the first film? We're having that moment now.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is one of the reasons that one of the things that do bug me about this film is that you're just calling back again and again to previous things. I mean, even in the animation, there'll be scenes where it's like, oh, that's an action that Mowgli or Baloo did.
It's just doing the same thing all over again. That's not really telling a story. That's just retelling.
Remember?
Yeah, it's just it's
remember that timeless film.
It's just reminding you of a better movie that you could be watching instead of this.
Right. But yeah, so again, Shanti comes and ruins everybody's fun, and she wakes the whole village.
She wakes up the whole village up, and of course, like Shere Khan's like spotted immediately, and he's being chased. There are scenes where he actually looks like he's being speared, like straight on in the face.
Put on sound effects, it just...
Yeah, but like he runs away. Baloo and Mowgli run away.
Shanti chases after them.
Shanti chases after them. Like she actually there's a moment where she looks really brave. The river. Oh, gasp! I'm going into the jungle where it's dangerous, and she easily goes into the jungle, and. When does... Oh, wait, no.
Oh, they have a whole... Baloo and Mowgli have a proper reuniting moment, and they... Remember that classic song we love so much? Well, let's do it again.
The bare
so
necessities.
They do the bare necessities almost verbatim.
And Ka comes in.
And
Ka during he's basically the brunt of the jokes while they're dancing. They don't notice him, right? But he keeps getting hit and stuff.
And the thing is, Jim Cummings plays Ka, and there's no other person of anybody in this movie.
Yeah.
Maybe the like Jess Harnell and the other guys playing the Vultures are almost exactly like the first film.
Yeah.
Like, so his delivery is like, oh, that man cub.
He does a really good job.
He's really
it's
good.
Like right to the point, like the hisses and
everything. He does like the lisp
and the subtleties to the pauses of his voice and everything. I loved it. I loved it when he came in, and I was like, oh, hey, it's Ka. Ka's back. Yeah.
And he gets the shit beat out of him.
Yeah.
When the going gets tough, beat up the snake.
Right. And there were moments where it's like I generally thought it was funny, but
he makes he gets hit by pawpaws, these spiky pawpaws, and he looks like Mickey Mouse. I'm like, get it?
Yeah,
Disney. And then at the end of it, the one line that probably was the funniest line in the movie is like, I hate these song and dance routines.
Yeah,
and he collapses.
That was like, great. Yeah,
that
was pretty funny.
My sentiment exactly,
because it's how I felt.
My life is a torment of pain. Oh,
yeah. No, so Jim Cummings does a terrific Sterling Holloway. So
best since Sterling Holloway.
Yeah. So, that's all I can really say about that. And then there's a scene with the Vultures come in, which are my favorite characters from the first one. I love those characters.
Them too.
Yes. Hey, look over there.
Look over there. Now's not the time to celebrate.
What we gonna do?
Don't start that again.
They're so quotable, and I love them.
I love them.
I love them.
I miss my mom.
Yeah.
So they're great, and they're basically making fun of Shere Khan because
they're not even really making fun of him. They're like just a little jab at him.
Yeah.
But they have a relative from outside those woods who's probably next to Ranjan is probably the most character in the movie.
Well, here was the thing about it. I love these vultures so much, and then all of a sudden they pan over and there's a fifth one.
The fifth beetle.
The fifth beetle. Yeah, you remember that one?
Yeah.
How popular he was? The Shemp
beetle.
Of the Beatles. Yeah.
Yoko comes in.
Yeah. Yoko Vulture.
Yoko.
But yeah,
Number 8.
And this Vulture is voiced by Phil Collins.
Remember Phil Collins? Yeah. Remember when Disney loved the shit out of Phil Collins?
Yeah, and
between like 2000 and 2004.
And to be fair,
his voice was fine.
The voice was fine.
The character was annoying.
Yeah, and basically he was like the character that would just go forward and just jab at Shere Khan a little bit too
Make
closely.
a lot of puns, a lot of
just jokes at
how
him.
many men does it take to screw in a tiger? I don't know. Like, what do you make jokes like that? And
Yeah. So it's like, none. It was a little boy. Ah.
that's a weird statement.
I know.
None. That's the end of a really dirty joke. None. It was a little boy.
Yeah.
God.
So yeah, they're
this is a children's film.
Yeah, they're shitting all over Shere Khan.
Not literally.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it gets to the point where later on, it's like Shere Khan, he gets a little too close, and the other vultures is like, hang on.
Oh, don't do it. Get away.
You're getting a little close. Oh, he's a new guy.
He's a pussycat, he is.
Yeah.
The Cummings, the Phil Collins vulture kind of rats out where Mowgli and Baloo might be.
Yeah.
And, Shere Khan, plays it cool, and the vulture's like, no, don't tell, don't tell him anything.
Oh, before this, there was that interrogation scene with Shere Khan too, because he's like looking.
No, that comes.
He's looking
comes after.
No,
it's after because Ka meets Shanti after, and then he tells him they're in the swamp, and then the vultures come. Back.
I'm going ahead of myself because this vulture scene.
Everything blurs together.
Yeah, well, it's okay.
Either way, Shanti is now in the woods and it's dark and she's scared and she keeps seeing things, and Ka is regaining composure from getting the shit beat out of him. And he hears and sees Shanti.
Yeah.
And he hypnotizes Shanti and is
was another callback.
Very close to eating Shanti. And everyone's favorite little brother, Ranjan, comes and beats the shit out of Ka, and Ka ends up swallowing a boulder.
I forgot how that happened.
He was above Shanti and was about to swallow her whole.
Yeah, and then he just slams onto a boulder.
Slams into a boulder. And
but anyway, this kid like just comes out of nowhere and basically like saves Shanti, but at the same time it's like, oh god, it's that kid. And yeah, Ka is like now has a boulder in his stomach.
He swallowed a boulder,
and he like flies off, and there's some good animation with
this rock sits in my stomach like a rock.
I don't think he actually said that, but
oh bother.
But at that point it's like, okay, Shanti and Ranja are now together in the jungle. They move
continue
on,
looking for Mowgli.
Ka like is somewhere else, and then Shere Khan comes in and it's like, oh, hello, Ka, where's the boy? And you were saying something about.
It's exactly like the original.
Oh yeah,
movie.
no, it's basically a callback.
They're interrogating
each
other
because it's not necessary.
No, yeah, but the thing that was unnecessary about it was that in the original film, Ka is about to eat Mowgli.
Yeah,
and Shere Khan comes and wants to find Mowgli,
but
Ka wants to eat him.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to tell Shere Khan where he is, so he tries to mislead him.
Yeah, and there's that funny like sitcom moment where it's just like,
and he hears snoring.
The boss.
Oh my sinuses.
Oh, it's the day that the boss comes to dinner.
Shit.
Oh, Baloo, you've burnt the roast again.
I don't know, but so in the original film, it's justified. In this film, Ka has gotten the shit beat out of him by 2 man cubs now.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to get involved either. He's like, oh,
he even says it.
Yeah, he even says like, oh, never, I never lived this down, or whatever. And at this point, he doesn't want to eat either of the man cubs anymore.
Yeah. So why?
And now, Shere Khan gets Ka, and Ka's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Basically the whole animation where he's like choking
him and
like,
all that stuff. The interrogation, the heavy interrogation,
right.
And Ka is misleading him, but it's like, why? Why does he need to mislead him? Why would he want to? He doesn't want to eat either man cub anymore. Yeah. So why is he like, he's what man cub? I've never seen a man. Yeah. Oh, he's in the swamp, and he tells him he tells Shere Khan.
He just basically tells him in the swamp because he just wants him out of the way.
Did he need why? Because they wanted to do because they wanted to do that fucking interrogation scene again. Probably they wanted to be like, let's have a scene like in the first film.
Yeah.
But there's no reason why they need to have that scene. Either way, he tells Shere Khan that he's in the swamp, and he goes walking off, and that's the last you see of Ka for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Which is a shame because I like the scenes with Ka.
Even in the original film, they did that first sequence with Ka, and then while they're making the movie, it's like, Ka is such a great character. Let's bring him back.
Yeah.
So you get that, which I think in the original film is one of the best parts of the movie, is his song, luring Mowgli back, and that whole interrogation scene with Shere Khan. That whole sequence is great in the original film.
Yeah.
And it's because they realized that Ka was a funny character. The voice was great. The fact that he was a snake and you could contort him and do whatever the hell you wanted.
Yeah.
That's why they brought him back later in the movie. They didn't need to bring him back, but they did. And it worked out good.
No, and it fit to the story.
In this movie, Ka is only there for a few seconds. There's 2 scenes are almost back to back, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, because it would be great to see him even for a split second, even at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But whatever. Either way, he's gone.
He's gone. No more talking about him.
Ka,
Ka's gone.
Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah.
That's my cue.
And that's where it leads to the whole scene later on where the vultures get a little. Well, the Phil Collins vulture gets a little too close to Shere Khan.
The vulture's name is Lucky.
Oh yeah.
His
name is Lucky. He's Lucky.
Lucky.
You remember that beetle, Lucky?
Lucky Bagel.
No, Lucky Bagel.
Lucky Bagel. I want a Lucky Bagel.
Yeah.
With
But he gets a little too close, and he basically spouts out where Mowgli is. It's like, that boy is blah blah by the river somewhere. I don't know what the hell. But then that Shere Khan like strangleholds him and says like,
Isn't it ironic that your name is Lucky?
And then they cut away, and at that moment,
I was like, just tearing, ripping shreds.
Yes, and I was so happy. I was waiting for him to show up on like a knothole or something. Like they were gonna like just pan over, and then you just see a vulture just like all like with featherless or something, like he was beaten up. No, they made it look like he was eaten, and I smiled deep inside.
And I knew.
And you knew, you bastard. Okay, we'll get back to this, but yeah.
Hey, hold on, hot pants. Where's the fire?
Isn't it ironic that your name is Lucky?
Come on, lads, this way, let's get on.
This moment like got me, like the whole like
everything
the whole
up to this
fish
point
tail.
was like, thank God.
Because I haven't seen this
Something
movie.
positive
You've seen this
happened in
3
this movie.
times. I haven't, so whatever.
I've seen it 3 times
and
too many.
you kept your mouth shut throughout the entire thing.
Because I knew, because I was waiting. I had it inside. I was like, wait for it. But anyway, we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
So now we cut to Baloo and Mowgli, which comes to what I think is probably the worst part of the movie.
Oh,
of many,
right.
Is there's a scene and they have a throwaway line where it's like, they go to it's King Louie's temple.
Yeah.
From the original film, and they go to there, and Mowgli's like, wasn't this King Louie's place? And he goes, was, kid, was. Now me and the monkeys made it a hip club. And it's like, it's a throwaway line to say, we couldn't use King Louie in this movie because he was voiced by Louis Prima, who was a famous singer in back around the time of the original film.
And he was amazing.
And he's an amazing,
Yeah.
he's one of the best parts of the original film. But Louis Prima's widow had a bug up her butt about maintaining the legacy of her late husband.
Yeah.
So she was like, I don't want you using any. I think she even complained about Tailspin because Jim Cummings did a Louis Prima for Tailspin.
Yeah.
And it's like you're you're soiling the name of my husband.
Yeah.
But no, you're furthering the legacy of I mean, people are going to say, hey, it sounds exactly like Louis Prima, that guy who was in the first film.
Right.
But she probably didn't get the right idea. She was probably like, oh, I'm old and I don't know what's good for my husband's legacy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure her heart was in the right place. It's just like it's just a shame that it happened because
they had to cut the character completely out of the movie.
Yeah,
which would have been great to see him in
this
movie.
It's such a memorable character, and there's even moments where it's like what that little the monkey that was like the fan
MC monkey. Yeah,
MC monkey.
He's now like the main monkey.
Yeah. Well, he said Flunky Monkey.
I heard he was called Flunky Monkey, but here he's called the MC Monkey.
Yeah,
which makes more sense because he really is an
MC.
MC.
But there was like a moment where it's like, oh, that's where they tried to get the whole Louis lines out.
Yeah, and
because it was Jim Cummings doing
a very not quite Louis Prima, but he's doing like Louis Prima sounds different than that, ladies and gentlemen, whatever he was doing. Another thing too, speaking of which they did a episode of, I don't know why I remember this, but an episode of House of Mouse where King Larry was visiting, and it was Pretty much, he looked exactly like King Louie.
Really?
He was pretty much King Louie, but they called him
Oh,
Larry.
so they couldn't use even King Louie there?
Yeah, but he still had a very like, I'm here to see a Mickey Mouse, like very.
Huh.
And I'm like, oh, they're called. Is it kind of like having your cake and eating it too? You're getting away with having
Right.
King Louie in here,
Huh.
but you're not calling him King Louie,
That's
and you're not
interesting.
making his voice. Because I've heard. If you go to, I think they had it in Tokyo Disneyland, where they have a thing where Donald goes through the different movies, and he meets King Louie, and they have Jim Cummings singing "I Want to Be Like You," and he sounds. I mean, first of all, Jim Cummings is great in anything. I mean,
Right.
he killed it as he was the elephant, Colonel Hottie, and early in the film,
Colonel Hottie, yeah.
he's Ka, and he does a perfect voice match for Louis Prima. If you hear him, you look him up on YouTube. Just search King Louis.
He's done it before.
Jim Cummings. He's done it before,
Right.
And it's amazing sounding.
Yeah.
He sells it really well, and of course, they can't use King Louis in this
No,
movie.
they can't.
So
He's-
instead of having a really cool song and dance number with King Louis,
Oh, dear.
which probably
Yeah.
wouldn't have been as cool, but it would be cooler than what we had. We have a scene where Baloo becomes like a like the leader of a club,
Yeah.
and all these animals are hanging out as if it's a bar.
The
and
song
city-
I remember is wild because they kept on they kept on saying like WIIILD, and they spelt it out several times like the
where
animals.
the animals
like,
make
spelled
the
out
shape of the letters. And,
So that happened. That's the only reason why I remember that is because they kept spelling out the word.
yeah, and at the end of the song, it's a very
It's a
both
weird
that and the
song.
Jungle Rhythm song.
It's a
are
trip.
not very. They might be catchy in a way, but they're forgettable.
Very
songs.
forgettable, yeah. And also all the designs of the miscellaneous animals in there. There's like a cheetah. There's like these lemurs.
There's weird. I mean,
I think.
animals that I don't think would be native to India.
Yeah. Oh, there was an owl earlier.
There's an owl. I don't know if there probably is owls in India, but there's probably a very specific breed of owl.
Maybe, yeah.
But he looked like just a standard forest
Yeah,
owl
exactly.
in the movie. And then there's mongoose, which there probably are
hippos
mongooses
and rhinos and
rhinos.
cheetahs and.
And at the end, there's a very I just can't wait to be king moment where they climb the tower and they're stacked on top of each other, like in I just can't wait to be king.
right.
And whatever, but the sequence goes on, and it's a crazy song and dance number. And then at the end, Baloo starts saying like, "Ooh, humans are bad. There's even this girl. What's this girl?" And then Mowgli, throughout the entire movie, Mowgli's like, "Well, he kind of secretly wants to be with Shanti and back in the village, but he
Yeah.
puts it on for Baloo's sake." And
Yeah.
it's weird. And then he goes off and sulks like, and I even joked because he looks at the village. He's up in a tree.
Yeah.
And I just, even while he's singing he's singing a sad reprise of his Jungle Rhythm song, and I just whispered to Andrew, "Riff raff, street rat," because he's looking out like forlornly.
I mean, it even started off sounding like that. He was just, I just busted up laughing when you did that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so anyway, Shanti and Ranjan are lost, and then Mowgli.
Mowgli's in the tree.
Mowgli's in
at
the
that
tree.
point. Yeah.
And they run. Oh no! He falls out of the tree and finds Shanti and Ranjan.
Yeah. They're,
And then he says that sign.
basically he's stuck in a vine or something.
I'm feeling Vine. Remember that? That's probably the worst pun.
That
in
was the
movie.
worst pun in the movie.
Yeah. And earlier Mowgli says, "Oh, if you ever see Shanti, you got to scare her."
Oh
And he
yeah.
says, you got to growl. And he
That
did it
wasn't, and again, like,
right out of the first film.
that was another
Give
callback.
me a big bear growl.
I suppose I'm more of a honey bear.
You can do it, Baloo. You're the one that taught me, remember? You scrunch up your eyes like this, and show your teeth like this, and roar like this. Roar!
Roar?
No. Like you mean it. Do you want that girl to take me back to the village? Yeah, man.
So we talked. They even use the same sound effect.
Yeah, they even used the same sound effect for the
bear growl.
Yeah. And
Callbacks. Remember?
Yeah, more callbacks. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there are a lot of them. But so anyway,
Well, they meet up, and basically, like, Blue is, like, looking for Mowgli, sees him caught in a vine, and he says, "Hey, that's Shanti," and then he, like, puts on his face, and,
creepy face.
oh, that was a weird face.
animation.
Yeah, it's like he showed his gums, and it was like,
There's a lot of scenes where he shows his gums when he smiles.
yeah,
too.
like
It's
he has
really
a
creepy.
this weird, creepy smile that's just like, he's all sharp teeth.
Yeah.
I don't even think bears have that many sharp teeth. But
I
he
don't
had-
know.
Yeah, but
Either way, he goes and
he goes
scares
up. He's
Shanti.
gonna scare Shanti, and basically Shanti gets scared. Then she basically slaps Baloo on the nose,
and then And then this reach comes to another question because he says, "You told me to scare her."
Yeah.
And then Shanti's like, "What? What you?"
Oh, yes.
And then he runs off. And then there's that. It's the one thing that many people hate it, and we of course hate it, is the whole scene of the misunderstanding.
Yeah, the misunderstanding thing. There's like two of them. There's Baloo and Shanti because there's like that whole "you told me to scare her," and that.
The music gets
and then there was
sappy
like
and she
another,
runs up.
and then there was another question raised. Was like, okay, I understand that Mowgli, having grown up in the jungle, knows the animals, is able to communicate with them. There is absolutely not even a blink of an eye. As soon as Baloo says something, Shanti just like deals
Accepts
with it.
it.
It's just accepted. It's like, okay, the animals can speak English. Hello? No, they don't even question it. They just keep going
There's no
on.
moment early in the film where like Shanti talks to an animal and like gets
Oh, no.
even when she's in the forest and there's owls and bats and shit.
Yeah,
there's
it's like-
no one saying, "Hey, get out of the way!" "Ah, talking bat," and running away.
Yeah,
there's not
yeah.
that moment. So in that scene, there's not like you talk.
It's just animal noises, and then she gets
and
scared.
so it was kind of like, okay, I guess.
I guess
it's a
kids
whimsical-
can communicate with animals,
or
I-
anyone can technically communicate with animals.
Yeah, exactly.
Either way, so they
Yeah, it's just
but moving right along, and then
Oh, Shanti runs off because she was like, "Oh, you stupid stinky boy, you're gonna."
she takes Ranjan and goes off,
Yeah.
and then Mowgli and Baloo have a very short talk, and he's like, "Say no more, Mowgli. I know what you're thinking. You wanted her to meet up with
You
her.
want her, don't you?
You want her, don't you?" All right, little britches.
Yeah.
Whatever you say. Oh, there's a line of dialogue that we heard it and we looked at each other like, what did he say?
Oh my god!
And he
I wrote
says-
this down. Okay.
He scares.
Okay, I wrote this down.
Oh, this is earlier in the movie where he's like, "Oh, when you see a human or see Shanti, you should scare her. Put on your big bear growl." And he scares Baloo.
Yeah.
And Baloo says,
It's like you scared the tick out of my ticker, and when I guess like
and we looked at, we
we
stopped
looked at
and we
it.
were like,
We had to stop. I was like, wait, did he say?
What did he say?
What did he say? And
took the tick out of my ticker.
and you can imagine like what we actually thought.
Yeah, we're not gonna say
because
it.
it wasn't very clear. It just like happened out of nowhere, and I'm just thinking to myself, I was like, wait a minute, no, he did not just say that, and deep inside, I know, okay, this is a Disney movie. There is no way.
Because he says it so fast that
Yeah.
you can't like enunciate. Because first of all, I
Okay.
want to edit the video. So what do you want me to, what are you trying to do? Take my tick out? You want to take the tick out of my ticker?
Oh yeah.
What
No,
the hell? I mean, first of all,
that was like that was a moment for us, honestly. It's
what
like
are you
as
trying to do?
immature
I
as
mean,
it was.
they could have said anything else. What are you trying to do? Scare me half to death? What are you trying to do?
I think they were trying like a little bit too hard to make him sound like, you know, some groovy cat, like
Because I know what clocks are. Because I'm a bear in the woods in the jungle.
Well, okay, that aside, it's like Baloo himself is like he's kind of like he's a swinging cat. See, you know, he's like he's really groovy to whatever, you know, whatever line they
He
say.
even says later, it's like, do you want to? He says a line when he says, "Okay, Mowgli, open up and tell me what you're feeling." Mm-hmm. He says, I mean, like it's in Baloo's character will. He would be a guy who goes, "Hey, man, take 5.
Yeah.
put your feet up and relax."
Yeah,
He's one of those.
Let's
kinda,
rap a bit. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah. It's stuff like that, and then, but there are moments where it's just like, oh, that's weird. That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah, but it was a weird line, and we're just like, "What was that?" So yeah. Anyway, they have a moment, and then Mowgli goes to find Shanti.
And then he does, but Shanti and Rajan are scared because Shere Khan is there. Right behind Mowgli. And you were telling me to prepare for this moment because it was going to get really weird.
It gets weird, and you're like, I don't...
Because
what?
there's like, it's a chase scene, but it feels like Shere Khan is like 5 feet away from him. He could leap and murder these children in an instant, but of course...
He wants to play... It's like he's like a animal. He wants to play with his food like a normal
Well, it didn't
cat
really
does.
play it out like that. It was like more of a chase. It's like they run away and then they go over a log and everything, and then Shere Khan's like running behind him or something. It's like I don't know. But that wasn't the part that bothered me. After a while, they go into a temple where they try to hide out, or Mowgli hides out because Shanti and Rajan are behind or something. And he goes into this temple and he leaps over lava. Like this river of lava.
The lava appears and...
But here's the thing.
There's a few seconds pass, and I'm waiting. I'm like waiting for you to say something.
Yeah, because it didn't really dawn on me at first. Because I was watching this. I was looking for something that was like out of place, and I was just thinking to myself, like, God, this chase is just ridiculous.
Wait,
and then I was thinking, like, why is there lava?
For tension, of course. It's that tension lava that appears in all movies.
Oh yeah, and it's just there. It's like. All of a sudden, there's lava in the jungle. I'm surprised the entire place isn't up in flames because of this thing.
So they corner
really
in the ambiguous lava temple.
Yeah, the ambiguous lava. And it's, I mean, it's to set up this tension-filled scene where Mowgli is trapped in this temple now. And Shere Khan's like looking for him. They hide behind these like gongs, these giant gongs, and
Baloo, Shanti, and
Baloo
Mowgli
is like chasing after him, and Baloo enters the temple. Bagheera was with them, and then there was that moment where it's like
Baloo turns around, good luck, and then Baloo nods and runs in.
Yeah, and you were saying it's like
Baloo, I love you. Turns around.
I know.
It looked exactly like it. Like
it did. It was like
someone should just put the dialogue.
Yeah,
over the scene.
There was just that moment of like,
it's that anime assertion where you look at someone and go,
yeah,
and nod your head.
Yeah, and I don't know how Shanti got in there. By the way, did she jump over the lava as well?
She got in after Mowgli,
after Baloo,
but before Baloo.
Did she?
Well, whatever. Whatever. They get into the temple, and then
they hit
Baloo and Shanti meet up, and they say, "Okay, we gotta just." And they figure out a way to distract Shere Khan by hitting these gongs. So Baloo,
they had that moment where Baloo and Shanti meet, and they're just like, "Oh, and we're gonna save."
And they're
Mowgli.
screaming at each other. Where normally, if I was Shere Khan and I have sensitive cat hearing, I'd be like, "The bear and the girl are right over there. I should know better."
Well, I mean, there's a lot of moments where it's like realism kind of like takes a big leap over.
So either way,
lava.
they use the gongs, all three of them, just to disorient Shere Khan. But Shanti's gong falls.
Yeah,
and now
Shere Khan
has the moment, just like in the original film, where he counts 1, 2.
Oh yeah.
And
that was another callback. I forgot.
Yeah,
about that.
and then Mowgli says, "I'm here. Come after me." And then there's the scene where he and Shanti run, and they have to jump. No, Baloo stops Shere Khan.
Yeah, it just gets
slapped in the face, and then which gives Shanti and
they
Mowgli,
jump over another lava cavern.
They jump, and it's a huge leap.
It's a huge leap for two children.
And then they make it, and then Shere Khan jumps, and he barely makes it. He gets less. There's less.
And here's what I said: it's like, can't tigers leap to longer than 2 children?
Yeah, a child like Shanti who probably has never jumped higher than 2 feet in her life.
But they're on this like rock that is crumbling now over this lava, and the kids like it's falling. This thing is falling, and Shere Khan obviously falls back, and you see him going towards lava. And I was just thinking to myself, like, are they going to just burn Shere Khan? Like any
just like
other
Tony
villain?
Jay's other villain character that he played for Disney falls into molten liquid, right. Just like in Hunchback,
right?
And you're like, oh, he landed on the ground, and then he looks up, and then you just see this giant stone head, and you're like, and even for a moment you were like, what? And and then he's inside the mouth, and then I knew it was coming.
Oh God!
So then you pan up and you see he didn't die.
Shere Khan is trapped in this rock. And all of a sudden comes in flapping, and I'm just like, no. Like, you saw me. You
stormed out of the fucking room. You were like, God damn! You just turned around and you ran out of the room.
I was so hoping he was dead.
It's a fucking Disney movie,
I
dude.
know, but it's like, you can't do that. You can't bring back a character that you've obviously shredded into pieces.
Well, he was pretty beaten up.
I guess.
And then, Shere Khan is like, oh, no.
I stormed out, and I was just like, oh, come on. Why'd you have to bring Lucky back? I don't like Lucky. Oh.
And then there's the sappy moment, which I don't even want to go into. The sappy moment where he can't choose whether or not to go to the man village or stay home and stay in the jungle. And then Baloo was like, get the fuck out of my face.
No.
Go. I hate you.
I don't.
I never loved you. Go, you big dumb animal.
Oh my god, I'm getting like flashbacks now to a Fish story now.
Oh yeah, there's moments like that.
Yeah, it's like, no, I never loved you. Go on.
I hate you.
But yeah, Mowgli basically decides to go back to the village, and the search party from the village finds him, and there's like, oh, Mowgli, my son. This is like very.
And then there's a moment where he's like, sir, I'm sorry, Mowgli, I understand that the jungle.
I was too hard on you. You are from the jungle.
I didn't understand how much the jungle meant to you, boy.
Yeah.
I'm glad you endangered 2 of our children. It was worth it.
Yeah.
Son, I understand.
That's okay. That's okay. So, pat. They go back to the village, and Baloo is just kind of like, that's fine. Mowgli needs to go back to his kind, and like the whole scene with Bagheera and everything.
Like in the original film, in a way. And then he goes, hey, wait a minute, Baloo, what are you doing? And then they go out, Mowgli and Shanti and Ranjan go out to fetch water. Mm-hmm. And they have a fucking...
He never really does get water.
He doesn't get water.
Well, you know what that means. Yeah, they go across the river, and they're in the jungle again, and they basically bring back Baloo and Bagheera. But poor Bagheera has to be the babysitter to this bratty
for a
child.
minute, he turns into a baby. Like, he's clearly like a 4 or 5 year old kid. And then suddenly, like, Bagheera has his tail flapping around.
Yeah.
And he just suddenly is distracted like a baby, like a swatting at it.
Yeah.
And then they go, of course, they go walking off into the distance, and you pan up, just like in the original film.
Yeah.
And you're like, is this finally over? Then the credits start, and what do you hear? Smash Mouth singing I Want to Be Like You.
Yeah.
Now I'm the king of the swingers. And it's like, and then we...
Loud and in your face.
And with the rocking guitar and drums.
Yeah,
woo, woo.
That was just like icing on the shit cake right there.
And then we didn't even watch the whole credits. We just went right through it. We can't. So we shut it off.
And honestly, okay, while this entire movie, I wasn't so much bored. I was just like, why
aren't we watching the original film?
Yeah, I was seriously feeling like, because I actually watched the first film a couple weeks ago, and I felt the same way that I always have. It's a good movie. I think the story is a little meh. The characters are very memorable and very lovable, and that's the greatest thing about the movie, is that they're like very lovable.
I mean, if you're coming to watch Jungle Book expecting to see an adaptation of the original Rudyard Kipling story,
yeah.
I mean, I said it before. Walt Disney even said in a meeting,
yeah,
guys, have any of you read Jungle Book? No, I haven't. Well, the first thing I want you to do when we make this movie is not read this book.
Yeah, we're
doing whatever the hell we want.
Yeah,
and even like later, I mean, another time, I guess we'll talk about.
Oh God, there's so many different incarnations of the Jungle Book, and there's like
the most prominent and other animated adaptation of the Jungle. I mean, there have been TV shows about the Jungle Book, but not including Tailspin or Jungle Cubs; those don't count.
Yeah,
but Chuck Jones in the 70s did a adaptation of multiple Rudyard Kipling stories, one of them Mowgli's Brothers, which is really the story of the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
And it's a much more faithful adaptation of the story.
But it's funny because like the most memorable thing to me about that movie is those Mowgli and like a wolf looking at each other with bedroom eyes, just kind of like, with that Chuck Jones grin.
With
like
a single eyelash.
Yeah, and just, it's just very like...
Wasn't he a baby? Or is he older at that point?
No, I think he was older. It looked almost
Roddy
romantic.
McDowell played Mowgli
Oh, I don't
I think
know.
it was most of the voices in that.
Yeah, maybe.
And
well, I
it was a better adaptation.
That's another movie that I vaguely remember, but I have to see again.
But even the pronunciation, because Disney butchered according to the Kipling family, they butchered the name. It's Mowgli. But
yes.
in this movie, they call him Mowgli, and they're
Right.
like, oh God. But either way, back to Jungle Book 2.
Yeah.
It's a sad. It's because there's many movies like around that time within the same 2 years. They did Return to Neverland, which was the Peter Pan sequel.
Yeah.
Which was like, why? They didn't need to do it. Why? And, they did it with a lot of... I mean, even to an extent, they did it with Bambi 2, but Bambi 2 is not as
it's
offensive.
I don't find it like they're honestly, yeah, like I said before, they're direct-to-video sequels that are really, they don't need to be made. And then there's some where it's like, it didn't need to be made, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was all right. But that's really what it is. Jungle Book 2 is just one of those things where I just keep thinking to myself, like, why did they do this?
Because it's not really Jungle Book itself isn't really a franchise that Disney was trying to, like, get big again.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they were like, oh, we have plans for a Jungle Book series.
every once in a while they make like an anniversary sort of thing, and they try to bring back the whole.
But 2003? What anniversary was that for Jungle Book?
I don't know.
But I
do remember it's like they went during anniversaries, they would bring back certain movies to theaters, and then Jungle Book was one of them that I remember actually going to a movie theater and actually seeing it for the first time, and that was pretty much it. It's like not the original showing, but I mean a second.
You're
show.
not that old.
Yeah, and
there's so many Disney movies that would have been a better, like, not a waste of time. Like, okay, we're gonna take a movie that had a happy ending and just keep going with it.
Yeah.
But instead, why didn't they do like the certain movies I thought would have been perfect for doing sequels to, like Alice in Wonderland. There's so many things they could have done with Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah,
because
it has Through the Looking Glass.
Through the Looking Glass.
They didn't really touch on that.
And there was a lot of the Griffin, the Mock Turtle, the Jabberwocky.
Yeah,
all that stuff.
There was a lot of stuff that they could have done.
Yeah, same with that. They could have done another Rescuers sequel.
Great Mouse
Detective,
yeah.
and even other movies.
I always wanted a Great Mouse Detective series. That would have been great.
That would have been great. I know that they wanted to do a Robin Hood series at one point, which would have been
I could
awesome.
have seen that. Yeah, that would have been good.
I saw it
because the thing is like they're memorable characters. Like Jungle Book has very lovable characters. I see them just fitting into that story. Adding to other stories, it just seems like, I don't know, it's kind of stretching the whole thing. There are stories where you can actually see these characters continuing on, doing other things and adding new characters and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, it makes sense with Great Mouse Detective and Rescuers and things like that, because they are detectives or heroes. They go out
there's
and
a
save
lot
people.
you can do with that.
Right. So, like, and the thing is that helps me is that there's some people who are like, oh, this has ruined the original for me. This movie has not ruined the...
No.
None of the sequels have actually ruined the original. I just completely disregard its existence.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like, you know what? Jungle Book, to me, is such a... to me, it's an important... I mean, in the context of Disney, it is an important film. It's the last film that Disney had full control over before he died.
That's true, yeah.
And it saved the company, because even at that point, they were like, well, we're spending too much money on animation.
Yeah.
And that movie made gangbusters money.
Yeah, it's a very important movie.
Yeah. And Jungle Book 2, it was theatrical, like we said, but it made its budget back in spades. It made $130 million on a budget of $20. That's pretty good. I mean, it wasn't a well-accepted movie.
Yeah.
But it made its money back in spades.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's something good to say about it. I mean,
which means that even if they do, I mean, like, even with a sequel, if it means that they can make more money to put into original projects or something different or something better, then good for them. But it's kind of like, why Jungle Book?
Yeah.
Why not this? Why not that? Why not take...
it's the same thing with Cinderella and Snow White.
It's like, my opinion for a while, I mean, now I'm just like, whatever, a job is a job, because like we said many times before, and we'll say it constantly on this podcast. This while this film isn't good, and it kind of
a lot of hard work on it.
Yeah, even though it kind of tarnishes in many ways some of the things from the original film, like, oh great, obviously hard work went into this movie between the art and everything in this movie.
Yeah.
So there's nothing. I mean, as much as I might not like the movie, you can't help but be like, oh, a lot of really hard-working, dedicated people made this movie possible.
Exactly. That's always the important thing that come out of this.
Yeah.
So I'm now well.
We're going to talk about what is our favorite.
Well, okay. I'm introducing a new feature starting now on this episode, and I'm probably going to add like a little like jingle in the beginning of this or something, or.
What we liked and hated. Sorry, we get sued by McDonald's.
Yeah, well, if you would like to make a jingle for this, then feel free. I mean, I always love getting stuff that people would like to add to the show, and like letters and stuff like. But if you would like to add a jingle to certain things that we do, then please be my guest. I would love to hear them, and we could add them to the show.
Hens love roosters.
But yes, I am introducing now. Every time we review a movie, we think about the best and the worst. And these are the scenes that we feel are the best and the worst. So, should we start with the best or should we start with the worst?
Let's start with the best.
Yeah, let's go with the best.
With this particular movie, I think we should start with the best and end on what we didn't like.
Yeah, okay. So, Mike, what did you think was the best thing in this movie?
The best thing about the movie, to me, was either the Vultures, the original Vultures, or any of the stuff with Ka.
Yeah.
And Ka had my favorite line of dialogue, I hate these song and dance routines, which is probably the best line in the whole movie.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, there's nothing really we could say about the art of the animation, because it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think we should like keep it to like what is
in the context of the story or the lines of the characters.
What did we honestly find the most appealing thing about this outside of the animation and the artwork? Because I was like, we're gonna admit that it does look good. It looks nice and clean, and the animation, there's like good animation in this. Actually, there's some weird animation with Ranja. Because it's like his
whoever
eyes
animated him gets really, really over animated.
Yeah, and it's like there are moments where his eyes get really beady, and it's very creepy looking. Like he starts like his head tilts,
and his eyes change a lot from being just black circles to having ones with shines in them.
But aside from that, we're talking about the best. So you would,
I would say the scenes with Ka and the Vultures, not the Phil Collins Vulture, and then if anything else, when there's a really good voice match. So like, I thought Bagheera was okay. I thought Colonel Hottie with Jim Cummings was okay, and of course, I think the Vultures and Ka were great. I thought those were the best parts of the movie.
All right, so for me, one of the best things, like I will agree with you that those scenes were great. Ka and the Vulture, like I love the Vultures, even though they weren't in there like a whole lot. I mean, because they're my favorite characters, and I think they did them real good justice. The voices were spot on, and I just like I love looking at them. Yeah. So you're going to find this weird, but I think one of the best things from my point of view was the animation on the MC Monkey. Because he
was pretty damn good.
There was some good scenes where like, he was just going off and saying stuff, and it was really well acted. I like that part. So
good stuff,
so I really can't add too much to what you've already said other than that. So
I also like Tony J as Shere Khan.
Yes, Tony J as Shere Khan was really good. Yeah, so and now we're going to talk about what we feel, and we really need to narrow this down, okay?
There's a lot of things that
we need to narrow this down to just one thing, okay?
One word for me.
All right.
Ranjan. Just the character as a whole took me, I mean, like anytime he was on, even seeing him on screen bothered me. I just I just thought he was an annoying character, and he took away from the movie.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even that necessary.
No.
Like, that movie could have probably existed
he didn't really.
him.
He was just like a tag-along.
He was a tag-along.
Yeah, he didn't really do much. It was just like kind of...
all he probably did was shave Shanti from being eaten by Ka.
Mm-hmm. And I almost feel like they wanted to make him more of a baby than like a 4-year-old sort of kid, Like they...
It would have made him more in danger. Because he never seemed like he was in real danger because he's always beating the stuff out of him. Like, let me at him.
Yeah, he was definitely Scrappy-Doo.
Yeah, he's Scrappy-Doo!
Yeah.
Holy shit! And there's even a moment where after he chases his car, he's like, oh, you can't get away that easy.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for him to go,
exactly.
da-da-da-da-da! Puppy, pow, and just...
Raging power!
Oh.
Yeah, he's the Scrappy-Doo.
Rampage! Oh, whatever. But honestly, in my opinion...
Yeah.
That character was probably the worst thing about the movie.
It was weird because it's like I was expecting it because you were telling me about this character like so many times before I even like touched this movie, and I was thinking to myself like, okay, I need to look at this through like I need, with an open mind, and I have to like really think about this critically. But 5 minutes of that character got me on edge. I was just like, okay, I can't stand this character
The first
anymore.
5 minutes, just the first 5 minutes
Just
of the
the
movie.
first 5 minutes. And it doesn't... It takes a lot to get on my nerves. But, yeah, that was definitely...
And it felt like it took forever to get from the village and those kids and Mowgli to me, what is the most interesting part of the movie are the animals in the movie. It took like 10 minutes to get to Baloo and Bagheera.
Yeah, exactly. And so the worst part for me, and I'm honestly not gonna say Lucky was the worst part, but the worst part for me was that he came back.
I mean, honestly, you got up and left the room.
I threw everything down in my hands, and I just walked out, and I just had to take a breather, because that was... Yeah. Oh, man, gosh. But, yeah, that was our consensus of Jungle Book 2.
And I'm sorry, because, I mean, like, there's times, I mean, it's enjoyable to completely just go off on a movie or something.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I mean, it's unfair to the people who obviously put a lot of hard work into it. But to be honest, this was a very hard movie to sit through.
Yeah, it was very difficult. I
mean,
found myself yawning a couple times.
Like B-Movie, when we did B-Movie is a movie that it's almost hilariously bad.
Yeah.
This movie is just like, it exists, but it doesn't break really any new ground.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like there are parts of it that you're just like, why?
Like, there's a lot of movies where, like, people say it's like, oh, that's a kiddie film. And it really isn't, just because it's animated. And they only say that just because I guess they feel threatened by the fact that it's an animated movie and it's for a general audience. But this one definitely feels like it was catered to a pretty young audience.
Just watch the original Jungle Book.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was the Jungle Book 2. And I don't really have any emails to read this week. So please, if you'd like to discuss anything or
talk
ask,
about Jungle Book 2, talk about How I'm a Fish,
or ask us a question about animation or stuff that you would find interesting for us to talk about, like, feel free. My email is awd300@gmail.com, and you can also contact us on our official Facebook page, which is
Animated Anarchy Cast, right?
Yes, it's Animated Anarchy Cast. So go to facebook.com and /Animated Anarchy Cast, and you'll find us there. Please give us a like. Also, you can find us on iTunes and Stitcher. Please give us subscribe to us, and give us a nice review so that it would spread the word about us, and talk about us on Twitter. We are at AWD Twit and
at A Guy Who Draws.
Yeah, so please help us out by just you can even do like a hashtag Animated Anarchy, and tell people that we are on iTunes and everything. Like, if you know people who are really into animation, just let them know, and see if they find us interesting and entertaining to listen to, because we really love doing this, and it's
fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, despite our distaste for some of the movies that we will eventually,
but we try to at least make a constructive criticism of it.
Yes,
to an extent.
So we try to keep an open mind. That's the thing.
Exactly.
So, but yes. So please do that. Review us and give us a couple good stars and a nice little review, and it will help spread the word about Animated Anarchy and the stuff that we talk about.
Yep.
So, yes, next week is another listener's choice. So, if you really want to get a movie that you'd like us to talk about, please write in, and we will, we will pick and choose from the list of whatever is suggested to us, and we will also read your suggestion on the podcast before we review it.
So watch your P's and Q's.
Yes,
Proper punctuation.
Yes. Oh, G-pop.
G-pop, unpop my P's.
Yeah. And you just finished watching the Raccoons, actually. All five seasons.
Because of this guy, I went in and I said, you know what? I haven't seen the Raccoons. And he's hyping it up because I remember in that episode, in that mini-cast, we were talking about the Raccoons. And I was like, I felt like it was very one-sided because you're like, oh, I love the Raccoons. It's great. I grew up with it. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, cool.
Just
I'll have to check
listening
it
to me
out.
going,
Yeah. So out of curiosity, I started watching
it
since, and that was 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
I went and watched all 5 seasons of the Raccoons, and he's right. It's great. I love it. I love Cyril Sneer.
And I watched like 20 episodes before I started talking about it, and then you tell me it's like I finished watching the Raccoons, and
I've got a lot of time on my hands.
Yeah. And yeah, that's another thing. We also every once in a while we also make mini episodes that
mini-casts.
Mini-casts, where we just talk about random subjects once in a while that may pertain to your interests. Like recently we talked about D23 and also what inspired us to get into animation and how we got into it.
Yeah.
And that's a great one that if you can listen to that one and also listen to our other podcasts from the past and all that. So thank you so much for joining us, and like I said, please become a subscriber and also like us on Facebook, and just spread the word about Animated Anarchy because it is something that we love to talk about, and I'm sure you also love to listen to it. So thank you so much for supporting our show. I am Andrew.
And I'm Mike.
And we will see you next week on Animated Anarchy. Bye.
Bye. No, I mean like a
and
real
they even really
growl.
and they even made
Use
the sound effect.
Is
that my car?
My Sharona.